Hey guys, what's up? Andrew here, obviously, and I'm back with my second collection update video. There was a record store day in August and a record store day in September, so all the records here are from those two record store days and anything I got in between the last collection update video for my birthday up until August. So we got 6 records here, great variety. Let's get started. All right, first record here. I'm not going to talk about this too much because there's a couple other albums that I feel like I could talk about a lot more. And also because I haven't spun this a lot, but it's really, really good. Stan Getz and Giberto. This is a jazz samba album. And it's really, really good. I got into the style of jazz music with Stan Getz and Charlie Bird, their collaboration. So Stan Getz is a saxophone player, and Giberto is a vocalist, male vocalist. And it's a great jazz album. I love it. It's really energetic. Back. So yeah. If you want to get into samba music, definitely recommend this album and the Charlie Bird and Stan Getz collaboration because those are both really, really good. But yeah, like I said, I can't talk about this too much. The girl opens up the track and listing, and it's the only song I can pronounce, so that's good. But yeah, it's so great. Giberto's vocals are really, really memorable. The saxophone playing is great. It's just all around a great jazz album. So yeah, Giberto and Stan Getz, definitely a recommended album. Next up, I'm really happy I finally have something on record from these guys because they're one of my favorite bands of all time, and they're my favorite doom metal band of all time. Sleep with the Leagues Beneath single. Sleep, obviously, American stoner doom legends. There's not much you can say about Sleep that hasn't already been said. I absolutely adore their music. Show off the cover and then back cover. I'm not huge on the packaging because it's very lightweight. It doesn't feel very protective. But I'm just happy I finally have this record, or just a record in general from this band because they're great. Record, and I don't know if this is gonna come off on camera. I hope it does. Yeah, it does. Look how gorgeous that etching is. It's unbelievable. But there's an etching because there's only one song on here, the Leagues Beneath song, which is, I believe, okay, it's just 16 minutes and 48 seconds. So it's one of the longer songs in Sleep's discography. Obviously, number one being Dope Smoker. It's great. I don't know why they didn't put it on Sciences, to be honest with you. I don't know. I mean, I would have loved that album even more if this was on here because this is a fantastic song. But I don't know. It doesn't matter because The Sciences is still my favorite Sleep album, which I know is a slightly controversial opinion. Most people will go towards Holy Mountain or Dope Smoker, but The Sciences is, I just think that's the perfect Sleep sound. So yeah, this is the first new recording from Sleep since their hiatus after the release of Dope Smoker. It's great. I'm happy to finally have Sleep on vinyl. So yeah, if you're into doom metal and you haven't checked out Sleep, what are you doing? If you're into Sleep and you haven't heard this song, definitely check it out because it's really, really good. I just noticed, actually, a lot of these records aren't even like sleeved because I just got them recently. So that's why I'm not taking off the sleeve and whatever. Anyways, next up, 70s band. I've been a fan of these guys since high school. Their second album is probably my, it's one of my favorite albums of all time, like really high up there. The third album from this band is a perfect hard rock album in my opinion. This first one, I'm a little iffy on. And I know it's going to get me a little shit. Rainbow, the self-titled debut. I call it the self-titled because I think Richie Blackmore's Rainbow is a stupid name for an album. So I just call it Rainbow self-titled. Gatefold is awesome. Just amazing pictures of the band, and that picture of Blackmore is just incredible. And of course, show off the back, really cool stuff, 70s press. I love Rising. I love Long Live Rock and Roll. This is Rainbow when they're still kind of, they sound a lot like Deep Purple, especially like, the Mark III lineup. They also sound a lot like Elf, which makes complete sense because the entire band, except for Blackmore, were members of Elf. I guess that's where things kind of go down for me because I don't really care for Elf at all, never have. I love Blackmore, and of course I love Dio, but the highs on this album, I'll say this, the highs are some of the best songs in the Rainbow discography. I mean, right away, opening track, Man on the Silver Mountain, great song. You go to the last song on side A, Catch the Rainbow, gorgeous ballad. Go to side 2, Temple of the King, probably my favorite song on here. Another just gorgeous track. 16th Century Greensleeves is alright. I'm not really huge on everything else. Self-Portrait's okay. If you don't like rock and roll, doesn't really do much for me. There's a lot of filler in my opinion on here, and it's amazing to me how they went from this to Rising like that within the span of a year. How they went from this kind of bluesy rock, at times boogie kind of Elf style, at times more that hard-edged Deep Purple sound, and then they went to Rising, which was like proto like power metal, and some of the most epic music I've ever heard in my life. I don't get it. I don't understand how they made that shift, but I mean it's Blackmore and Dio. I can't complain too much because they're still an amazing duo. Show off the record. So yeah, I've been a fan of Rainbow for a while, but this album, I don't know. Maybe I need to spin it more. I think that's probably what's going to happen until I get like Rising and Long Live Rock and Roll on vinyl. I'm probably just going to spin this more just because it's the only Rainbow I have, and there's some legitimately amazing songs on here. So yeah, if you want to get into Rainbow, start with Rising and then go to Long Live Rock and Roll. I don't like anything after Long Live Rock and Roll by Rainbow, to be honest with you. I don't like any of the Joel and Turner stuff or anything like that. So because of that, I really want to like this because there's only a select few recordings of Dio and Blackmore together. So I really want to love this album, but I don't know. Hopefully it'll click more with me. Hopefully. So yeah, Rainbow self-titled. Check it out if you want to get into Rainbow. Next up. These are all albums I got from the September Record Store Day. So I got the Giberto and Getz album in like July-ish. I got the Sleep album on the August Record Store Day, and then I got the Rainbow album from a friend. Actually, I got it for free. Everything else I got on Record Store Day in September. And it was a really good haul. I'm very happy with how it happened. So first off, Moody Blues, Days of Future Past. Moody Blues, late 60s early prog sounding music with elements of psychedelia and incredible. It's really honestly like really ahead of its time. You know, when people think of prog rock in the 60s, they think that, oh, King Crimson came and they completely made what we know as prog rock. And to a degree, I understand why people are saying that. Show off the sleeve. I understand why people say that, because their style of prog is more what we would call as prog. There we go. Really cool center label. I like the orange and the white mixed together. I think that's really nice looking. They made what King Crimson made what we know as prog today, and we would say. But if you can't discount the Moody Blues. I mean, they're just really, really, really awesome band. They had a string of amazing albums from the late 70s into the late 60s into the late 70s. I didn't have much sleep last night. Late 60s into the early 70s. And this is the one that many people will say is their best. And it's hard to argue against that. With tracks like The Day Begins, Dawn, The Morning, the Epic, The Afternoon. Oh man, there's just a great album. I love. It's hard to see the cover because it's actually got the original wrap on it, which I'm probably going to take off anyways because I'm going to sleeve it. But I love this album cover. Love this album cover. So yeah, if you're into prog rock and you don't know the Moody Blues, I don't know what you're doing, but you're doing something wrong. I highly recommend them. If you're into 60s rock, psychedelic music, definitely check this album out. And then check out like their next 6 albums, because they just went on an unbelievable streak of albums. Moody Blues, Days of Future Past. Check this out if you haven't. Next up, another one of my favorite artists of all time. I technically have an album from him on vinyl, which I showed off, in maybe my second or third video. I think it was my second video. But I don't like the pressing at all. I think it sounds like shit. I got it from an Urban Outfitters or whatever, and it sounds horrible. So I'm gonna seek out older presses of his albums, and I finally got an older press of one of my favorite albums from him, Lodger by David Bowie. Of course, all of you know David Bowie, English singer, songwriter, musical chameleon. This is his last album of the 70s and also the last album in the Berlin trilogy. Although, if I remember correctly, I don't even think he made much of this in Berlin at all. They just call it the Berlin trilogy because it's with Eno, producer Brian Eno, of course. I love this album. Super awesome gatefold. Love this picture of him. And then gatefold inside, obviously. I love this album. I think it's incredibly underrated. A lot of people say it's the black sheep of the Berlin trilogy, and it's also one of the more underrated Bowie albums, and I definitely agree with that. Lyric sheet. And then show off the record. Just standard black, but I love the center label. Kind of minimalist. The thing with the Berlin trilogy is that people will look at Low and they're like, they love Low, which, I mean, I do too. I know I put on my Instagram story recently that it was my favorite Bowie album, but it's tied. It's tied with Ziggy Stardust. I can't pick, and fuck you if you're gonna try and make me pick. Set this off the side so I don't drop it. But yeah, people look at Low and its experiments with ambient music and art pop and stuff and say that's the best Bowie album. Or they'll look at Heroes and they'll think of the title track, the epic title track, and they'll say that's the best of the Berlin trilogy. And then they look at Lodger and they're like, what the hell's on Lodger? What songs are on Lodger? You know, this album experiments a lot with world music, which I think is really interesting considering that Eno was doing the same thing with the Talking Heads around the same time. But there's some amazing songs on here, guys. First track, Fantastic Voyage, amazing song. Amazing stuff. DJ's really cool. Red Sails, come on. You can't tell me that is not a great Bowie song. Yasa Sin is fucking weird as hell. I don't know what's going on there, but it's cool. African Night Flight. Boys Keep Swinging. I mean, come on. This album rules. I wouldn't say it's my favorite of the Berlin trilogy. I'd honestly say it's probably my least favorite, but that by no means it's a bad album. This album is great. And I'm very happy to finally have an older press of a Bowie album because it sounds just incredible on vinyl. So yeah, if you want to get into Bowie, do not start with this album. Do not start with this album because it's, like I said, it's kind of a often forgotten about album. It's not the critically acclaimed juggernaut that, you know, Station to Station and Low and Heroes were. And it's also not the commercial juggernaut that the next two albums, Scary Monsters, Super Creeps, and Let's Dance. It's not it didn't sell as much as the two albums that came out after this. It wasn't as great with the critics. It's definitely one of his more underrated albums, and I definitely recommend starting with something else. But this album rules. It's so good. I'm a big fan. So yeah, Lodger, if you're into Bowie and you haven't listened to this album, you can't call yourself a Bowie fan. Whatever. Listen to this album. And the last record we have here today. This is such a cool find. I honestly thought my record store day would end with the Bowie album and the Moody Blues album. I went to a record store, like I walked 10 minutes to another one. I didn't find anything. I was like, this is probably gonna be it. But just as a last option, or not really a last option, but I was just like, let me just check out this one more record store. Let me just see if they have anything. And I spent maybe like 10 minutes there. I found this, and I'm so super happy. Neil Young live at the Roxy on the Tonight's the Night tour from, I believe, 1975. Holy shit. Neil Young, Canadian folk singer, guitarist. I got into Neil Young a little after I got into Dylan because people often compare them both musically and vocally. And for a while, you know, I enjoyed like the 4-album peak that everyone says he has, right? From like the late 60s to the early 70s. What is the name of his second album? Hold on, I'm gonna check out what the name of his second album is because I know it off the tip of my tongue. Sorry about that. It's Everybody Knows This Is Nowhere. I should have known that. That one, After the Gold Rush, Harvest, On the Beach. That's usually his 4-album peak that people say that's the best Neil Young material. And I love all those albums. I really do. But none of them really resonated me on a similar way that some of the best Dylan albums have. None of them really, I don't know. Maybe it was because I just didn't think they were as consistently good there was just something missing, right? And then I heard Tonight's the Night and I was like, that's it. That's the best Neil Young album. I was hooked right from the start. As soon as the title track started playing, I was like, that's it. That's what it was missing. It's so emotional. It's so dark. It's the vocals, my God. The way his vocals sound so damaged and destroyed on that album, it's incredible. So this is a live performance of songs from that album. So I was like, I need it. That's my favorite Neil Young album. I need this. And yeah. Holy shit. The packaging is just stellar. I mean, really, they did a really nice job with the packaging. The lyric sheet, or record, I guess. Story on the back. No, I'm not going to read that. You're out of your mind if you think I'm going to read that. I should have actually pulled out. There are 2 LPs, right? However, there's only 3 sides of music. The 4th side actually has an etching. So I'm going to show off this one. More, this is just credits and stuff. And a picture. And get the record out. Love the way the center label looks. Just white text on black, center labels just looks very nice. And then etching. Really cool stuff. Yeah, it's a great performance. I'm very happy to have this. I believe this came out 2 years ago. I don't know if it was actually a Record Store Day variant for 2 years ago and they just had it now. But whatever, I don't care. I'm super happy I have this. I didn't even know it existed. And I'm pumped about it because it's a great performance of my favorite Neil Young album. Band sounds great. Neil sounds great. No complaints from me. So if you're into Neil Young and you want a live album, definitely check this out. But I'm probably biased because it's my favorite Neil Young album. So yeah, that was a collection update video. I'll make another one when the October Record Store Day comes. I'll go out and waste more money on physical media when I can easily just listen to it on YouTube, but fuck it. Anyways, thanks for watching and stay tuned for the next one.